Well, up next, we meet Sister Bethany Madonna of the Sisters of Life, who recently spoke at the SEEK 2017 conference. She talks with us about her personal vocation, the charism of the sisters, and the misconceptions about the pro-life movement.
Because you're in His image and likeness. The Catechism reminds us that no one is Father as God is Father. And we have a good Father. He loves you. And He is always present. He is never too busy, distracted, burdened by your needs.
I think some common misconceptions about the pro-life movement is that it's an angry movement or a movement that is filled with yelling and shouting. I think pro-lifers can be very apologetic that we are who we are, when in reality, everyone underneath, everyone deep down is pro-life. Everyone has a sense that life is sacred somehow, that it's meant to be protected in some way. So even if they feel combative, there is some common ground. So I always say for the pro-life movement, just being able to be an ambassador of mercy, an ambassador of hope, being able to speak words to those who have suffered because of abortion, of mercy and invitation, and being able to speak to those who are tempted to abortion, those who feel pressured by the medical community or by circumstances, those who have been abandoned in their decision and feel totally alone in it. They need a word of hope, they need a word of encouragement, and they need real practical support.
He is never too busy, distracted, burdened by your needs.
I had an experience in college where a friend invited me to pray outside of the abortion clinic, and I thought she was crazy. I was like, you want to get us arrested or something? I mean, that's wild because of the misconceptions. And she said, we just pray the rosary. And that morning, praying the rosary outside of an abortion clinic, when I saw all of those young women wrapped around the building, alone and abandoned, I just cried. And I knew that I would live and die for them and for their children. So it was only later, thinking always that I would be married and have a huge family, my own litany of saints for children, you know, Peter, James, John, Paul, Thomas, Philip, Bartholomew, Linus. I always thought that. I remember being in prayer and adoration and actually asking the Lord sincerely for the first time, what do you desire for me? And how did you make me to love? And I felt, I heard, I sensed, you know, it's hard to put language into the mysterious, loving mercy of God, but I knew without knowing how that He was inviting me to consider being totally His. And so I had dated, I was very open to marriage, but at a certain point in college I knew that it was time to really open myself up to the possibility. So I prayed a lot and I visited religious communities, and I think I just needed to have two questions answered. It was, how are you going to meet this desire for love, you know, romantic love, passionate, forever, life-giving love? And how are you going to meet this desire for motherhood? And he responded with two more questions. He said, would you be willing to love me with all of this love that you've been saving for a husband? Would you let me love you? And would you let me be your spouse? I will love you perfectly. I will never hurt you. I will be, you know, love you forever. And that was incredible. But then I was like, what about the kids? You know? And I felt like the Lord was inviting me to something great by asking this question, would you love every child as if it were your own child of flesh and blood? And when I met the Sisters of Life and I recognized the spiritual maternity of the Sisters of Life to mother mothers, you know, and to be able to nurture souls who have been wounded and hurt by the culture to healing and new life in Jesus, I felt in my own heart just that hundredfold that was promised, you know.
And you're the only one who can receive His love into this space, which is you. And He longs for this. No one else can satiate His desire for you.
Last month, a celebrity said something to the effect of, I've never had abortion, but I wish I had. And it exploded on the internet. And people who consider themselves liberal, pro-choice, pro-abortion, just had such a fierce reaction. And that speaks in volumes to me because, you know, underneath all of that, abortion is not a good. Abortion leaves women wounded and scarred, and it's not something that you want or seek or desire. And I think just having that voice just so recently come to the floor, I think we can recognize and be more confident in the fact that women need more and women deserve more. So how can we be that for them? How can we create an environment that welcomes them, welcomes life, and provides for the needs of those who come forward asking for help? Because we're all dependent on each other, you know? There needs to be greater solidarity. We need each other. So, just at our Christmas party, and one of the women that we served, she was really, really back and forth about abortion. So many pressures, so many fears. She actually went to the clinic. And on her way into the clinic, she saw a woman praying the rosary. She went in, got prepped, was on the table getting ready to have her abortion, and the woman praying the rosary would not leave her thoughts. She left the clinic and called us, and we were able to walk her through her pregnancy. And on Christmas, I was able to hold that baby this year, and all I could think of was, think about the fidelity of that woman who prays the rosary. She has no idea that she was the sign that pointed to God's presence and His love and His providence. And then as I was holding this baby, it's like, she might not have been here. Like, you are a treasure. You are beloved. You are willed by God. You are made in His image and likeness. Who are you going to be, child? You know, the beauty, and just seeing her mother so whole and so full of gratitude, full of joy after such a difficult and sad time, you know, of having felt abandoned. She now feels so upheld by this love, by this network of support. So that's the first one. The second one is, because of this last year of mercy, so many women who are suffering because of abortion called us that we made it a full-time ministry with 5 sisters mission to it this year. So we had a woman come 86 years old. It had been over 60 years since her abortion, and she had carried that weight, that shame, and she was able to come, go to confession, offer her child to the Lord, receive healing, just to see how faithful He is. He was not going to relent. You know, we see so many women who really, after abortion, feel the loss and the grief and the confusion and the anger, and we see them rise up and open themselves up to the possibility that the Lord can forgive them. And when they walk forward, you know, we see Him lavish graces of great mercy and healing and new life. So those are the 2 stories I would share.
Thanks to Sister Bethany for speaking with us. If you want to learn more about the Sisters of Life and their work, visit sistersoflife.org.